Dude, is this thing on? Pardon my stupidness. I don't do very many videos, but I thought this might be helpful for some of the people in the RC hobby, specifically WPLs and their upgrade parts. I see an issue that a lot of people are discussing, and I wanted to do a quick video on it since I'm at a point where this actually comes into play. So let me turn this camera off my ugly mug and get to the point here and try and get through it kind of quick. There's a lot to cover. Let's see there. Alright. Turn it a little more. Okay. There we go. So you can see my pile of parts. And I guess a little bit of my natural view. Been watching the squirrels and the cardinals doing their stuff outside while I'm doing this. This is specific to, like I said, the WPL people. I have my C4 or C24 / C24-1 that I've posted pictures of before. Not really here to show it off, but I wanted to show the specific truck that we're discussing because I know there's a lot of people out there that have this issue when it comes to upgrading and all that, and you get to the point of the axles and you go to upgrade those. If you, let me put him down, if you go to the upgraded axles and you get the portals, some people are looking at these MN D90 112 scale portal axles, and I want to say first off, I think they're great. I've had mine for a year and I don't have any issues with mine. The reason I've got things tore down right now and I'm covering this topic is because after a year of wear and tear doing, mud and rocks and dirt and train, all the terrain that I go through, things are bound to wear out. And that's where I'm getting to here is if you have the same thing and you want to take it apart and replace things inside to, if you have them for a while and it gets to that point. For those that may not know, there's one little part of this that is important to notate. These things have 3 different size bearings in them. You got this big guy here, which is a 6x10 by 3 millimeter. It's pretty recognizable out of the 3 because it's so much bigger. These smaller ones I want to cover because let's see, yeah, they look the same, but they're not, and you need to recognize the difference inside when you're doing this because you're going to have to buy all 3 sizes to do this correctly to be stock again. They're 3 by 6 by 2 and 3 by 6 by 2.5. So they're the same size except for the thickness. The 3 inside, 3 millimeter inside, 6 millimeter outside, 2 millimeter thickness. Same 3, 6, but 2.5. Yeah, so pay attention to that. When you're putting it together, you're going to want to make sure you get the right ones in the right places because one will fit where it shouldn't and things will be loose and the other one's not going to fit. Like for example, on the spindle itself, you're going to have these thinner ones. And the reason that is because they got to fit in these grooves on the axle housing. And let's see if I can get a reflection on there. There's going to be one here, one here, one here, and one here. And they slide onto this spindle, and that lays into there, and the bearings sit in their little respective grooves. But the the thicker ones won't set in those grooves, only the thinner ones. So those have to be for that. The thicker ones, they go inside the portal, and one of them, for example, sits on the, put this down, sits on the end of this wheel hub that sticks out of the portal where your wheel attaches. It balances on the other end. There's the big one that goes around here, and then one of these smaller, thicker ones that goes on the end of that inside this housing. You can't use the thinner ones. They'll fit, but then you're going to have a little bit of play, that 1/2 millimeter of play, and that's a lot in these things, as you guys may know. So though you have to buy all 3 sizes. To my second point is on the meshing issues that I see people facing when it comes to the drive shaft connection to the spur gear, which here's my old one that's really wore out. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but yeah, it's wore out. And I'm changing that. I got a new one here. But the drive shaft connection to the spur gear, which inside connects to the drive gear, there's a bearing that's going to be inside the housing right here and outside here at the housing. So, and I can show you on this one, there's a little hole in there that bearing sits in, and then on the outside there's the hole there that the bearing sits in. Now stock, they want you to, or they have the thinner ones for those inner and outer bearings for the spur gear. And then, you know, I see people fighting with the mesh, and the natural solution has always been to use shims, of which I have to turn the camera a little more. My shims are right there, and they're basically washers. If you guys don't know, and they're about a 1/2 millimeter thick, and I had one inside and one outside helping shim the drive shaft and the spur gear, pushing the spur gear in for the mesh on the drive gear. Well, it's a 1/2 millimeter shim, and they're having us use these 2 millimeter guys, but you still had to buy the 2.5s, and they come in a 10-pack to put in the portal. So you have something that's a 1/2 inch or a 1/2 millimeter thicker. So what I did, and I'm gonna test it out and I'll get back to you guys, is I put those thicker ones on the outside and the inside. So one's pushing the spur gear to mesh that, and one's pushing against the drive shaft to mesh this, and give it, since it's a bearing instead of a washer, it's actually feeling pretty smooth. Like, this is the front axle without the steering arm. The portals are just flopping, but you can see them turn, and it feels really smooth. And there's no play going on here. Now, part of that is because I've got brand new spur and gear, but still, like, it feels really good. So I'm hoping, and it gives that perfect little space here where the drive shaft is not rubbing on the pumpkin, and it's actually riding on the bearing, because the bearing is a 1/2 millimeter thicker and it's sticking out just a tiny bit. And the same thing is happening internally to the spur gear inside, pushing it up towards the drive gear. So shoot, man, I mean, I thought I'd share that, and maybe it'll solve the meshing issue that I see a lot of people fighting with. I'll get back to you guys after I get I got to get this rear axle put together and then find some time to finish it up and get it on the road and test it out. But yeah, point number one, if you get these and you want to change the bearings, be aware that there are 3 sizes. The 2.5, the middle, the thicker ones, they're a little bit harder to find. The 2 millimeters weren't easy, but they're out there, and you got to have all 3 sizes to do these properly. The only thing I'm changing is I'm putting a the thicker of the smaller 2 instead of shims, and gonna see how that works, and I'll get back to y'all. Alright, cool. Well, build what you like and have fun, stay safe, stay awesome. Chainsaw out. Peace, yo.